And I think it's so incredibly sad that I have to do this post. But let me just tell you something. Anna, I love you. I have loved you since day one you've entered into our family. But let me tell you something. You're showing everyone that it is okay. It's okay to cheat. You know, Ashley Madison, hello. Hello. It breaks my heart that he did that to you. It breaks my heart that Danica Dillon might have truly happened now.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, May 16th. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's beautiful outside. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I know I did. Well, sort of. But before we get into what happened this weekend, I'm going to just tell you that I'm going to be staring right at that dot at my computer because I'm using a different camera right now, and I promise to deliver you the best possible day or the best possible content or the best possible delivery. Some of y'all have an opinion about my background. We're refreshing it eventually. Everything takes time here because it's only me that runs the channel. So I have a lot that I do on a daily basis, including over the weekend getting a website up and running, which is still bare bones. And then if you've been on my Instagram, you noticed that it says Remembering Katie Joy. That's because someone who was having fun with Instagram let them know that I was no longer here of this world. And unfortunately, I cannot access the account outside of getting into it through my Meta business suite because it's connected to my Facebook page. But once I get into that, I can't access any of the controls. I can't change it back to a regular page. When I try to log into Instagram, it says that my status is memorialized, and it says to fill out this form, and then I fill out the form, and then they send me an email and says, we can't help you. So that's literally been the roller coaster I've been on. So that account currently is like in a state of frozen, thinking that I'm no longer here, which is really upsetting to me simply because I just want to be able to get back into it. So I'm working behind the scenes to get back into my Instagram. In the meantime, you can check out my second Instagram, which is Without a Crystal Ball 2. That's my backup account. I haven't posted a lot there, just letting you guys know what happened. And for anyone assuming that I did this to myself, absolutely not. I would never do this to myself, because why would I want to spend hours upon hours upon hours trying to talk to someone at Instagram and literally no one answers the emails? It's all automated. The irony is that Facebook and Instagram want my phone number and they won't give me theirs. It seems like a very, very imbalanced relationship. Okay. Now that we're done with that. Okay, so last week we went through a bunch of the stuff related to Josh Duggar's case. So it's been a very busy few months here over on Without a Crystal Ball. A lot of you have joined me because of my coverage of the Duggars, but I also cover other things like Sister Wives and the roll-offs. There will be a video coming up on the roll-offs here in a minute. Now, over the weekend, a lot of you were sending me in emails. Now, new for you is if you have any tips that you'd like to send to me, make sure that you send them through tips@withoutacrystalball.com. That is an email simply for tips. If you have something that you want to send to me, something that you think I need to see, if you are a source of something, if you are someone that has details about a story that I cover, if you are someone that's in a story that I cover, you can use that email at tips@withoutacrystalball.com. I might not respond to every single email depending on what is sent. I kind of reserve the right to decide. If it's like, if you're just sending me a link to something, I might not actually respond. But if you have an actual tip and you are a source, I'll do my best. So moving forward, a bunch of you sent me an email of Amy King, and she was calling out Anna Duggar. And Amy and her mom have been pretty active since the letters were written by the Duggars and Michelle, the neighbors, and Anna.
It breaks my heart that you're sitting there and you're allowing your kids to want daddy home. When your daddy, the daddy is not, he deserves to be loved, deserves to be away from your kids, and you deserve better.
So a lot of you had a lot of questions about the letter that Anna wrote, along with, your feelings about Anna. When I did my video the other day, I kind of reserved it that I didn't want to give too much of my opinion. Obviously, it's not my job to try to insert how I feel into everything. I like you guys to make up your own decisions. But I will say that I don't think it's going to help the court if she's begging for him to come to work, because I feel like the court would have said your husband should have thought about what he was doing if he was worried about supporting you. He had an opportunity not to do these things, and he knew he had the responsibility to support you.
You're choosing this. This is a choice you're making to live this life, to be okay with an on your kids, to be okay in a loving, faithful marriage that is a complete sham.
This is the part of the letter that I think got a lot of people upset. She wrote this: Joshua has worked hard to provide for me and our now 7 children, but the happiest part of our day by far is when Daddy comes home from work and his cheerful voice fills the house. Hey guys, how's it going? What did you learn about in school today? Are usually the conversation starts in between greeting each of our children. Joshua is an engaged dad who gladly throws a football with his sons. He listens to our daughters play a new song they've learned on the piano, helps answer homework questions, and lends a hand sweeping up crackers. He's a kind, loving, supportive, and caring father and husband, his primary focus in life. My children and I rely on Joshua for financial, emotional, and physical support. So I think obviously people are like, Anna, you are missing the mark, because your children actually should be not around their dad, because obviously their dad is doing things that are not very good. And obviously it had a lot of people thinking like, oh my gosh, could you imagine the entitlement of it? That was really my impression of it. It wasn't just so much that she didn't understand sort of the magnitude of what was happening, but it was more so the entitlement of it. Can you imagine sending a letter to a judge and saying, my husband needs to work, so could you let him come home? There's dads all over the United States every single day that are not able to provide for their children because they're in the same situation as Joshua. And I can assure you, ones without wealth would not have ever been given the opportunity to go home early because they needed to provide for their children. Simply put, once one of the parents is out of the picture, a child has 2 legal guardians, one a mom, one a dad, sometimes 2 moms, sometimes 2 dads, whatever. But once one of those parents is out of the picture, it's the responsibility of the other parent to pick up the pieces, including getting a job, providing financially, providing emotionally. It's not ideal, but millions of people around the world, around the country, are working and being single parents. So Anna, unfortunately, you have to enter that world at this point because your husband had the opportunity to do what's right and he didn't. So with that said, I think obviously a lot of people were frustrated because they feel like Anna is she's a really big platform. I don't know at this point in time who Anna is actually a role model to. I mean, I'm sure there are still like Duggar huggers or people that love the Duggars or support the Duggars. She's got her brother-in-law, David Waller, who said something even more disturbing, I think, out of all of them, who said that he said this. David Waller, Priscilla's husband and Anna's brother-in-law, said, on a number of occasions, I've been in Joshua Duggar's home for an overnight visit, and I've observed him gather his children and read them from the Holy Scriptures, the Bible, and I prayed then, and I would then pray and then have a beautiful time singing songs about Jesus while playing the piano. In Joshua Duggar's recent absence, I enjoyed taking some of his boys to a Christian retreat for fathers and sons. I prayed with his boys while tucking them into bed. I've heard his young sons pray for you, Judge, by name, asking God to work in your heart so that Daddy could come home soon. I've heard them cry themselves to sleep, wanting Daddy to come home. I remember the past Christmas, their request was, all I want for Christmas is my daddy. I've personally observed Joshua be a man of integrity and taken considerable loss after selling a vehicle to a friend of mine at cost. He's a deeply religious and God-fearing man. He lives his life knowing that he will give an account someday to God for his choices and decisions he makes. He has publicly owned his mistakes and has been transparent about his faults, even when he knows he will be misunderstood, maligned, and attacked. He has also chosen not to own something that he claims he has not done in this situation. I sat through the trial and listened intently to the arguments made by both sides, both the defense and the prosecution. I was there when the verdict was read. As a pastor who cares about the spiritual condition of people, I urge you to consider how much his wife and 7 children need him in their lives, to be nearby for visits, accessible for communication, and brought back home to provide not just financial but spiritual guidance of his family. So David Waller is another interesting person because Waller is a Gothardite. He worked as Gothard's assistant for years. And so therefore, David Waller's opinion means nothing to me. But, you know, in the word of David Waller, he probably thinks he's God. I mean, he hung out with Bill Gothard, in my opinion. So Amy Duggar King had something to say to Anna about how she is setting a really bad example to women, that, you know, she needs to do better. She shouldn't have to do this. So Amy went off on her TikTok. It's gone viral at this point. It's been viewed over 1 million times. Check out what she had to say.
And I think it's so incredibly sad that I have to do this post, but let me just tell you something. Anna, I love you. I have loved you since day one you've entered into our family. But let me tell you something. You are showing women all over the world that follow you that it is okay to have in your home around your beautiful children. You're showing everyone that it is okay. It's okay to cheat. It's okay to use me as a rag doll. It's okay. Have more self-respect than that. You know, Ashley Madison, hello. It breaks my heart that he did that to you. It breaks my heart that Danica Dillon might have truly happened now. It breaks my heart that you're sitting there and you're allowing your kids to want daddy home. When the daddy is not safe. He's not a safe person. He deserves to be locked up. He deserves to be away from your kids. And you deserve better. But you're choosing this. This is a choice you're making, to live this life. To be okay around your kids, to be okay in a loving, faithful marriage that is a complete sham. And it's really sad you're showing women all over the world that it's okay to be with an. I'm going to use my page to show them that it's not.
So Amy, never one to shy away from her feelings, had a message that Anna is setting a bad example to other women. She's also not being a good example to her children, and she's not being a safe mother. Now, these are her opinions, and I'm not sure if, you can call out Anna. I don't know if Anna's going to actually listen. And I don't know where Amy and Anna's relationship even stands at this point. I don't know if they even talk. But obviously, no one else in the family is going to say anything, because they have this thing in the Duggars, which I completely forgot to talk about, which comes from the IBLP, which is about making a negative report. So in the IBLP, there's this whole thing about how you should never make a negative report about somebody else, because it's not your job to judge someone. And if you do judge them, it's really not your job, even though all they do is judge, right? It's the irony, the hypocrisy. None of that is lost on me. But because you're not supposed to make negative reports about anyone, in the IBLP, you're supposed to always look at the positive. You're supposed to use positive language. You're supposed to be a positive person and have a high continence where you're smiling all the time and finding the good in life. And every single word is going to be something that God hears you say. That's literally how they terrify people. So no one wants to actually say what Josh has done. Waller's oh, he's made some mistakes and he's owned it. And in this case, he's not going to own something he didn't do. Waller says he sat through the evidence and he didn't make an opinion about whether or not he had it, but he still thinks that Josh should be guiding his children spiritually. That's the problem with this belief system, is that no matter what we say to them, no matter what we say to Anna, no matter what we say to David, in my opinion, you're never going to get them to see the other side, because to them, they don't think that the world judgment here matters. They're more concerned about judgment with God, and they believe that it's all about God, and if God forgives, then it's all fine. It doesn't matter if people do really bad things, because as long as God forgives them, it's not up for humanity to make a decision about how to handle people. Unfortunately, that's not how the real world works, and people that do bad things do need to be held accountable. So with Amy coming out and basically saying Anna, you're being a bad example. Anna, your kids deserve better. I'm not surprised, because Amy is literally the only Duggar that will say this. Her cousins are never going to say that because, again, they grew up in the whole world of never give a bad report. And frankly, I don't think the kids or the siblings want to be affiliated with this in any way whatsoever. I have this sense that they would rather just ignore Josh and ignore this entire situation and not deal with it. They don't want to be connected to it. They don't want to be affiliated with it. I don't think it's any leap to say that they've wanted nothing to do with this case, because not one of them actually provided a letter in Josh's favor. They didn't say anything about what a great person he was. In fact, a lot of the people that wrote letters are people that are so distant to Josh, neighbors, some guy that lives in Texas, his mom, his wife, and David, and LeCount, who took care of him for 3 months while he lived in his house before trial. But everyone had a motive. Everyone has something that they're benefiting from the Duggars. David benefits financially from them. LeCount, I'm sure his daughter got married. The Burrises are neighbors, and they recently purchased property from the Duggars. So nothing, I think, with the Duggars is without strings. But when you have people that you can't buy off, like his siblings in this case, none of them wanted to write a letter of character for their brother. You've got 18 people that grew up with Josh, know Josh well, and not one of them wanted to say anything about Josh to the judge. Not one of them wanted to beg him to come home. I would go with the fact that not one of his siblings wanted to say anything. The only ones that defended him were his wife and his mom and his brother-in-law and some random neighbors. Beyond that, I think Amy has a really good point. I think Amy's message is clear, that her kids deserve better, that Anna deserves better. What Anna needs are resources, but Anna is not going to take resources, and it's not going to, I don't know, no matter how many times we pound in the sand that we want her to do something, she's not going to do it because we want her to do it. I want her to wake up, but I can't control that. So maybe at some point, one of these people can get through to Anna and send her, Anna, you deserve better. Anna, you love Amy. Listen to what Amy has to say. Maybe something that Amy says will resonate with you. You do deserve better. Your kids deserve better. They definitely don't deserve Josh. All right, you guys. So do you resonate with Amy's message? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.